Hello, everybody that's watching the replay of this live. My name is Tatum Ayomike. I am the CEO of Anchored Media and the executive producer. On this live stream, I'm going to be talking about how to successfully launch a podcast. So I'll give people a couple of minutes to join in before we get started. Those of you who come in on the live, say hey so that I know you are here. Hey, everybody that's coming in, say something in the comments so that I know that you're here. And I'm just checking really quickly to make sure that the live is coming up on both channels. Yep, okay, I have it on both channels. See if I can pull up Instagram too. Hi, everybody that's coming in on YouTube. Say something in the comments so that I can see who's here. I'm pulling up Instagram so that I could kill two birds with one stone. Hello, 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 YouTube. All right, Instagram is coming on. Hello, everybody that's coming on. I'm trying to pin this comment real quick. I'm on YouTube as well, so I'm like going live on three different places at the same time. Let me pin this comment. I feel like an old person. Okay, there we go. Hey, everybody on YouTube and on Instagram. I am going to be looking in both places. So YouTube people, if y'all see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at Instagram. Instagram people, if y'all see me looking up, it's because I'm looking on my computer on YouTube. Hey Arvilla, hey Brandon. All right, so without further ado, for those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Tatum Ayomike. I am the CEO of Anchored Media and the executive producer. At Anchored Media, we develop, market, and produce podcasts. And we help people launch podcasts, but also grow their platforms. In today's live, I'm going to be talking about the basics of how to successfully launch a podcast. I've worked with over 100 podcasters in either launching or growing their shows. I'm a podcaster myself. I've had a show for about a little over 5 years now. So we're coming at you not just from the podcaster perspective, but from the business development perspective. So, yes, I have a show. Yes, I know what goes into it from the podcaster's perspective, but myself and my team, all of us who work at Anchored Media, we are marketers and business developers. So we believe that podcasting is a very effective top of funnel strategy for any entrepreneur. And when I say top of funnel strategy, what I mean is a podcast is the perfect marketing platform to pull people into your business endeavors. It's an algorithm free environment. It's a search-based environment, which means that it's very organic to get listenership and to get your stuff seen. That's unheard of in a digital space because with things like social media, it's very hard with these algorithms to get seen. And especially platforms like Instagram is trying to compete with TikTok. So all of these social media sites are really gearing towards a younger audience. And the rules of the game constantly change, constantly are evolving, and constantly are moving away from most likely the people that you're trying to talk to. Podcasting, though, it's organic. You upload it to the internet, and due to some strategies that we actually teach for Anchor Media, your podcast and your platform is able to easily get found without you having to play the algorithm games that you would do anywhere else. So I'm not even going to get into marketing and all of that. That'll come at another live. But today I just want to talk about what it's going to take to successfully launch a podcast. It's very easy to launch a show. All you need is a microphone, a hosting site, and the internet. It's very, very, very easy to launch a show. But I want to give you guys 4 tips on how you can launch a successful show. Like I said, we've worked with over 100 podcasters, many of which chart on Apple Podcasts, not just in the US, but other countries. My show, Blessed and Bossed Up, is consistently a top 100 podcast, top 20 in entrepreneurship, top 20, top 100 in business. I work with over 50 advertising partners. Our listenership is about 250,000 a month. And that's the success of my show. But other shows that I've worked with, I've helped entrepreneurs create shows that are able to make money, allow them to make money in their businesses without them even reaching the point of needing a sponsor. They've been able to monetize very, very early on. So when I tell you we know what we're talking about at Anchor Media, we do. And so today, again, I'm going to be sharing with you guys 4 easy things that you could do to successfully launch your podcast. If you're on Instagram, give me some hearts. Give me some hearts if you're looking to launch a successful podcast. If you are on YouTube, leave me a comment so I can see who's here because I can only see the number. I can't see any names. If you guys have any questions as I'm going through any of these points, Instagram, you can put it right here in the comments. YouTube, you could put it in the comments as well, and I'll be happy to answer any questions while I'm here. All right, let's get into it. The first thing that you need to launch a successful podcast is you need to have a viable idea. Viable means able to be successful, feasible. So like I said, creating a podcast is very, very easy, but creating a successful podcast is one that takes work and that takes strategy. So before you buy equipment, before you sign up for a hosting platform, before you get your group chat together and decide to start recording, you have to make sure your idea is viable. And that comes through market research. A big mistake a lot of people make, even in business, is you just hop right into it because you think it's a good idea. But podcasting takes a lot of time. It doesn't take a lot of money, but it definitely takes a lot of time. And you want to make sure you're getting a return on investment for that time that you're putting in. So again, before you buy the equipment and get started, you need to make sure that your idea is viable, and you do that through market research. So first, thinking of, okay, what's my idea for this podcast? So after you have the idea, so let's say I want to start a podcast teaching people how to market their business. Great, that's my idea. Now, what's going to make this idea viable or successful? Well, I need to do some market research. So the first place I'm going to start is what other podcasts are out that are teaching people how to market their business. What are people saying in their reviews? What does their comment section look like on their social media pages? Do they have video with their podcast, or are they sticking with audio? What type of marketing are they talking about? Are they talking about inbound marketing? Are they talking about outbound social media, guerrilla marketing if they're taking it way back? What type of marketing are they talking about? And how can I create a show that stands out? One of the first podcasts I listened to was a business podcast, and it was called The 10-Minute Marketer. So the show, I forgot how often it came out, but the show was 10 minutes. So they taught marketing concept in as little as 10 minutes. That was a very key differentiator. And for someone like me who was just getting started in the marketing field, I was able to listen to that information and understand it and digest it because it was so short, it wasn't going over my head. So while there are a ton of marketing podcasts out there, that show was able to be effective, at least with me as the consumer, because they position themselves in a way to stand out from other shows that are similar to theirs. When it came to my podcast, Blessed and Bossed Up, after I switched it over from its original format, I needed to validate my idea. And so I knew I wanted to talk about faith. I knew I wanted to talk about business, but how was I going to create a show that stood out? So, based off of my market research, what I did was I figured out, okay, I'm going to put this show into the business category because most people in the business category, it's interviews, it may be successful business people that is well known already. Most of them are probably white. All of these different things. I may be talking about real estate or wealth. And so I thought this was a great opportunity, one, for me to infiltrate this space, leading with faith, because I knew I would be able to appeal to those who identified as Christian who was on that platform. And two, I put my face on the cover of the podcast art because I wanted to connect with Black women specifically. And I know when we see one of us, we're going to at least give it a try. And so that was just some small things that I did to make sure that my show stood out and I validated my idea. So the same thing for you. How can you validate your idea through market research and making sure that it's feasible? And again, you can do that through a competitor analysis. Another way that you can do that is you can survey your audience. I actually did this before I switched my show to Blessed and Bossed Up. I surveyed my audience to where I'm like, what type of podcast do you listen to? How long do you listen to podcasts? Where do you listen to podcasts? What's your favorite podcast content? Who are your favorite influencers online? Just asking my audience a variety of questions for them to let me into their head, into their consumer behavior, and give me intel on how I could create a brand and a show, a platform that appeals to them. So again, any of you guys who are looking to launch a podcast, make sure that you validate your idea. Second thing, when it comes to launching a successful podcast, here's something that a lot of people miss, especially those of you guys who are faith-based creators. Your audience cares about them. They don't care about you. Now, hear me out because that can sound a little bit harsh. Your audience cares about you to the extent that you help them solve their problem. When somebody is listening to your podcast, they want to be entertained. They want to be educated. They want to have some need fulfilled by listening to your content. They don't want to hear just you ramble on the show, or they don't want to hear just your thoughts about XYZ. They are always asking themselves, what's in it for me? And so when you're creating your content and coming up with your subject and building out like the outline of your episodes and all of that, you need to think, why does my audience care about this? What is the problem that my audience has? What is the problem that my audience has as it relates to whatever your subject matter is for your show? So again, your audience wants their problem solved. And the worst thing that you can do on your show is to get on there and create what you want, talk about what you want to create. You have to find that overlap between what your audience wants and what you want to do, and you create from that sweet spot in the middle. Those of you guys who are on Instagram, give me some hearts if you understand where I'm coming from. Anybody who's new here, we're talking about how to successfully launch a podcast. If you have any questions, you can drop your podcast questions. I don't even think I plugged Anchor Media. We help people launch and grow their podcasts. We recently did an open house where you can learn more about our events that we have. We actually have one coming up in a couple of months to help people launch their podcast successfully. So you could try to DIY this yourself, or you can work with a team of experts. We've launched over 100 shows since we have started this business. So you can go to anchormedia.com to sign up for our open house to learn what we have going on and to come to our next event. All right, so that was number 2, is your audience cares about them. They ain't worried about you. They are worried about them and how your content can fill a gap or a need that they have. Number 3, this is huge. I listen to a lot of podcasts because of what I do. So I've been helping people listen to their show. We always are listening to helping people grow their show. We always listen to it first. One of the top mistakes that I hear when I'm listening to podcasts is people talk versus communicate. When you speak, communication is a cynical process. It's a circle. You give out a message and you receive feedback, right? So your audience, it shouldn't be a game of telephone. Your audience should be able to hear exactly what you are intending to say. But what happens is, and where a lot of podcasts miss the mark, especially if you are a host show and not somebody who's doing interviews or anything like that, a lot of shows hosts find themselves rambling and just talking, but not effectively communicating a message. And this also can be a hindrance to your ability to monetize, because if you're not effectively communicating your point, you're missing out on an opportunity to create a customer out of your listener. And so I remember I was listening to, and this can make or break shows. I listened to Therapy as a Christian podcast with one of our longtime clients. So she came to us back in 2019, and she's worked with us a few times. The host of the show has worked with us a few times since then. When I first listened to her show, she had a great concept. So she had a valuable idea, right? She got to step two, which was she knew that what her audience wanted. It wasn't about her. She was able to connect with her audience, which is what they wanted, which was mental health resources as Christians. Now, when we got to point number 3 of communicating versus talking, my girl was rambling. She wasn't effectively communicating her messages. She was just coming up on the show and talking because she's a talker. And a lot of podcasters are talkers. I get it. But when you come into this is a profession, and the skill set that you need to have as a podcaster is not being a talker, but being an effective communicator. And so when we worked with this show and changed up her messaging and really showed her how to craft a message that listeners buy into, everything changed. Her show now consistently is in the top 100 in the mental health category. She's able to now get sales in her business as a result of switching some things around from working with us. And if I'm not mistaken, I haven't checked in a while, she's really close to be able to start accepting sponsorships. So something as small as messaging can really, not even as small, but something like messaging and effectively communicating on your show can make or break your platforms. I see a comment on Instagram that says, where can I get podcast music? Go to soundstripe.com. If somebody could type it in here, I would really appreciate it. And I'll type it in here on, YouTube. Soundstripe is a website where you can get royalty-free music for your podcast. And it's my go-to website whenever we're creating shows and looking for music and things like that. If anybody else has any questions as I'm talking, please type them in the chat. Thanks, guys, for typing it in there. All right, so that was number 3. Number 4, we getting through these quick because I'm not a long-winded person, and I ain't gonna start today. It's Friday. So on number 4, the last thing that you need to successfully launch a podcast is to incorporate video as much as possible. So video and audio keep going back and forth with the number 1 content format. Video reigns supreme. And if you're a podcaster and you're looking for another platform to promote your show, don't worry about Instagram. Don't worry about Facebook. Don't worry about Twitter. If you're a podcaster, the second place you need to focus on is YouTube. Why? Because it's video and it's a search engine. Those are the two most impactful things on your show: video and a search engine. Studies have also shown that podcast consumers are now viewing their podcast on their TV. So they're sitting down with their friends, their homies, with the podcast up, having discussions and watching it that way. So they're watching podcasts on YouTube versus watching TV shows or these streaming services. This is a consumer behavior that you can really capitalize on as a podcaster. And also video gives you, and YouTube specifically, it gives you an opportunity to just further allow your audience to get to know you behind the scenes. So that makes them not just buy into your messaging on the platform, but it helps them to buy into you and what you have to offer. And while that is valuable, is because now you can take them from the podcast and take them into your live events, take them into buying your book, take them into tours that you want to go on, take them into communities. So now once your audience has not only bought into you and what you have to say, your message, but they've bought into your brand as a whole because you've engaged them not just via the podcast, but via the other content you've created on YouTube and things like that. Now you have a loyal listener and a loyal customer. So again, I'm not going to talk too much about marketing here. I'm keeping it super basic. 1 + 1 is equaling 2. But if you're looking for another platform that's going to benefit your podcast, it's not social media, it's YouTube. It's the perfect platform partnership between podcasting, and YouTube. So that's it, you guys. Quick recap. Again, how to successfully launch a podcast. Number one is have a viable idea. So something that is feasible and able to be successful, and you do that through market research. Number two, understanding your audience cares more about what you're doing for them than hearing about you. My phone ringing. Sorry, YouTubers, my phone rang. And then number three, communicate versus talking. Don't be a chatty patty on a podcast. Talk. Communicate, effectively communicate. If you have a show that's not entertainment based, keep it under 30 minutes. You don't need an hour-long podcast that's motivation. Keep it 30 minutes. Nobody's listening past 30 minutes anyway, so keep it to 30 minutes. And then number four, incorporate video as much as possible. The sound went out. Okay, hold on. Can y'all hear me now on Instagram? YouTube, I'm gonna wrap up while Instagram gets fixed. Hey, Dayla. I'll leave the replay up. We might edit it a little bit and then re-upload it. But thank you guys on YouTube for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon. Make sure you go to anchormedia.com to sign up for our open house and learn more about the things that we're doing.